Well, I'm a bit of an idiot, actually, about the new world of e-books or electronics or cyberspace. I think whatever exists to ensure that people read, and read great books and great poems, is essential for the continuity of people's lives. Reading is regarded by some, foolishly, as being elitist. It's the least elitist thing in the world. A book you can buy for $8.99 or $18.99, depending on. So I think publishers perhaps would fear it more than I do. I just know that if I have one mission in the world, it is to try and make sure that young people, and even not young people, will continue to read great books. Because if not, a banality, which is already creeping into the world we know, will increase 100-fold. So I feel lucky to be a writer, to be able to continue to write, and I know most expressly that the few books I read, the few books, not a lot, that I read when I was developing or young, were the most enriching thing in my whole life.
Ebooks are interesting, aren't they? Because we're at this point in publishing where things are going to are changing, and I think that change is going to just gather. It's only going to gather pace. Ebooks, you know, for me, it's just another way of reading a book on the whole, and I find it quite an interesting idea, especially if you're travelling. To take an ebook reader is a very sensible idea. I think what we haven't quite figured out yet is the impact that ebook publishing is going to have on the form of the novel itself, and that troubles me a bit more because I'm kind of old-fashioned, really. I like a book to be contained. I like it to you know, the idea that I might publish a book and you could click on a link and it'll bring up an image of the house the kind of house I'm describing, or the music I'm describing. To me, I don't like that idea, because the point of writing fiction is to evoke these things through words. I feel like if I need a picture or I need a piece of sound to help, I'm failing somehow. So that slightly worries me. And the idea that as authors we might have to produce extra material to enhance the sort of, to really use the resource, to use ebooks in the way they could be used, slightly bothers me as well. But at the same time, it's exciting. I think for readers, it's a very exciting moment because we are going to see books develop in new directions.
Part of the reading experience is the physical experience of it, is the geography of the book, if you like. When you're reading through a book, a physical book, you always know where you are. You know how far you've come. You know how far you have to go. You know, we have photographic memories, even if they're not really specific. We kind of remember where the paragraph that was particularly good was on a page. And I think you lose that with ebooks. It's like one long scroll that goes through this piece of plastic, which isn't very pretty. They aren't very pretty, ebooks. And I found that the books that I've read on them, I'm not sure that I actually have retained the sense, and maybe I don't have that geographical grounding that I really wish I had and hold on to.
The physical object has great pluses, and each of these forms, the electronic form and the paper book, they each have pluses and minuses. For instance, if there's a really big solar flare, kiss goodbye to all of your electronic data. Should the electricity go off, either because of grid overload or insufficient energy source, you'll be happy you kept a few paper books. You can read them by candlelight, and then they make good kindling. No, I didn't say that. So electronic data is actually very fragile. And paper books, on the other hand, are quite heavy. So what I like is to have both. I like to have the same book in both forms, because the e-readers are very handy for such things as plane trips and when you're in the dentist's office. or if it's a book you're not entirely sure you wish to own, you can preview it, you can read it first on an ebook.
It's wonderful when you finally get the book. They courier a book to you from the publisher, and it's a wonderful feeling to hold it. Not quite the same thing to hold a Kindle or a Sony e-reader or whatever and look at the, it's more like looking at it on a computer, and it's not as sexy. And I happen to be a really tactile writer myself. I write longhand into notebooks, and then I type it into the computer. So I do use the computer, but I really like to have the feel of those pages and the ink. And so for me, I think a physical book is a similar feeling, that it's always going to be a very tactile experience, and that's part of the whole process of reading and enjoying a story.
We're at the moment that's equivalent to when they said television was going to cause the end of movies. It didn't at all. Movies are very flourishing. And they said radio was going to cause the end of books. And we've had these moments of doom before. We are in a phase change. Publishing is going to happen in different ways. But that does not mean the end of books. It does not mean the end of paper books.